Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to On Your Mental. This is the podcast that shares candid, open, and sometimes vulnerable conversations between and about men, talking about things that are on our minds. And today is the first group episode. I got me and three of my close friends, Kabir, Devon, Seb, and we're here to talk about what makes a man. And so I hope you all enjoy this week's episode. If you're not already, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. That way you know when new episodes are coming out. And I'll see y'all in a moment when the video starts. Peace. First of all, I guess, welcome back. Dev, Seb, you've both been on before. Yeah, we've been filming. The whole time we were filming. Welcome back to On Your Mental. Thanks for taking the time. Oh, everybody grab the drink at the same time. I'll go for mine too.
I'm not doing that.
I appreciate y'all taking the time out of your day, as usual, to come and join us for a little conversation here. First, before we get started, today's topics, we're going to be talking about, I guess, kind of like what makes a man, at least in our opinions. We're not experts on any of this stuff, but we're
debatable.
We're maybe men.
Being men?
I don't know.
I don't know about that.
We've done it for a couple of years.
At least a few
We're getting there. Hoorah. Hoorah. Before we start, though, Dev, aloha. This guy been to Hawaii and back,
Jet
fresh
setter.
off the plane. How you doing, man? How was Hawaii?
Why are you outing me like that, bro?
I'm so-
For the record, we booked our vacation before everything was, it looked like it was trending downwards, COVID and all that.
Oh, dude,
what I'm talking
that's
about.
not what I'm saying like that. No,
No, I know, but I'm just, like,
I swear to God.
I swear.
I'm not infected.
No,
it
it
looked
was great.
amazing.
No, it was great, man. Yeah.
Mhm. These guys, I barely have had a chance to even talk to Evan about it yet. Like, he's just our
Straight back to work.
ships in the night, man. He comes home in the day. I'm already at work. He goes to bed at 10. I'm going to work on stuff and
Unhealthy
just
relationship.
never see him. Very unhealthy
They
relationship.
were going
Classic
to work,
marriage.
a job you hate,
Yeah, you know.
no big deal.
It's no big deal at all.
That's one.
Well, this for everybody listening and watching, of course, this is a new setup here. This is our first episode with 4 people, and I thought, what better way than to have some of our closest friends here talking about something related to what I try to talk about on Your Mental. The first thing I want to ask us is thinking about your time, adolescence, boys to men, whatever. I hate boys to men.
Really?
Yeah, not a fan. But your time growing up, was there a moment in your life where you thought, okay, now I'm a man? Was there something or a thing or a time where you're like, nah, this is it. Yesterday I was a boy, today I'm a man. And then don't talk about the first time you but no, for real. Was there a time or a moment where you thought, hey, maybe now things are different?
I can go first.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, I'll go first. You can go.
I was trying to think of something, and the only thing that came to mind was, I guess, when I started, when I was working the hardest, which was about, it might have been 2017, when I enrolled in
late?
it was pretty late, man. I guess this is my opinion, bro.
No judgment here.
So I enrolled in that power engineering course for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and it was 5 days a week, and it was in Langley, so it was that's like almost an hour drive.
For us, it's a while, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a month straight, it was 2 months straight, and it was just me driving there, and I'm there from 9 to 5, and then I came back to Richmond, and then I would have to find time to work out and do other stuff, and I'd be working part-time still.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess when I just all that stuff that was condensed, that made me feel like I was at my most productive time. So that made me feel like a man, I guess.
So it's like the level of productivity that was going on in your life made
for
you
me.
think.
Yeah.
Like you're actually doing shit.
Like I was at, I couldn't
Yeah.
have been doing more. I could have been.
Well, you know,
But for me, that was like a lot. I was doing a lot.
You had a
at
lot
that
on your
time.
plate.
Yeah.
mm-hmm. So from that, then the way that I hear that is, it's like, for you, part of what being a man is being fulfilled and doing things,
Yeah.
is working on something.
Yes. Yeah.
Working towards something greater.
Something. True. Yeah.
Interesting. So this is just a question I have from that. Did your thoughts of being a man shift after you stopped working on the power engineering stuff? Like, did you then think, am I now less of a man because I've stopped doing this?
To an extent, sure. Yeah, like I feel a lot less productive when I'm not like doing something every day. So now that I've when COVID hit and I couldn't pursue that for a while. I don't know if I would say it was less of a man, but definitely less.
I would.
No judgment here. No judgment.
Sorry.
Yeah. And I mean, like, we're talking about the moment where we felt like we were a man, or a moment or time where we thought like, okay, I'm more of a man now. And so would you consider that kind of like a tipping point for you, where after that, like, okay, I am a man now?
Yeah, I guess so. Because now I know that I can handle all that stuff on my plate at once. Whereas before it was like, before when I first signed up for that course, I was like, oh, that seems like a lot. I don't know if I can, like, I don't know how I'm going to do other stuff other than like work on this course.
Sure. And
it was like a condensed course too. So it's like, when they teach it at BCIT, it's like 2 years.
Sure.
But this was, I think it was maybe a year, but this one's 2 months.
So even faster, more stuff in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's long though, 9 to 5 for school.
Yeah.
That's fucking long.
5 days a week, eh?
Yeah.
5 days a week, yeah.
That's a full-time
That's
job.
a full-time job. That's a full-time job.
Yeah. I feel like I have a less interesting answer in that, I don't know, I've never really thought about that in particular. Like, when did I feel like a man? To me, I've always just been
Sure.
a man. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
like no. It's just I've never thought of it like in that sense. You know what I mean? Like, I was.
And I mean, how often would you, right? Like, why would you? Think about it?
Yeah. So I mean, that's basically my answer. I mean, I've always felt like a man. You know, there's not one point in my life where it was like, oh, I'm doing this now, or I've done this. You know, now I feel like more of a man. It's just, probably a shitty answer, but
no, it's not shitty. This is our own perspectives. Right?
Yeah,
This is how we felt.
Yeah.
I'll share my own for a moment, and then I'll toss it back to this guy over here. For me, I remember a moment in high school where, like, I was able to start growing facial hair at like a younger age. That wasn't when I thought, oh, I'm a man. The thing that did it for me was coming back in like grade 11 or something, or 12, to Mr. Espinosa's Spanish class. And it's a weird moment for me. But when we came back, it was the first time where he had pointed out, like, oh, you lost like the baby fat on your face. This is weird that a teacher's saying this shit to a kid, by the way. Like,
That's Mr. Espinosa.
Questionable.
Yeah, actually, that's
but
true.
He said, like, oh, you lost like the baby weight on your face. You look like a young man now. And like that moment in my head, I was like, oh, like somebody's like validating the way that I look. Like, I look like a man. And so for me, that was one moment. But I also look at kind of like checkpoints in life. So like finishing school, I felt like more of a man. I had done something. I've got a thing behind me. I've got a degree. That made me feel like more of a man for some reason. Getting my first full-time job, even moving from part-time to full-time, that only happened in 2020. At the start of 2020, I made that change. That made me feel like more of a man. I don't know if there is a time, same with you, where it was like, okay, this day I'm a man. But I think there are moments where it's kind of reinforced my own masculinity a little bit.
Yeah, I feel that. Or it's like just in general, when you've accomplished something, you feel like I think accomplishment is part of that. Like, which is weird because if you think about it, like women probably have the same list of like, you know, like stuff that you just said. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think it's a unique experience to men. No, I agree with you, but it's like, I do think there is something rooted in being a man where finding accomplishments and achieving things is kind of part of what culturally and societally we look at being men as, you know? Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense, but maybe you get what I'm getting at. Yeah. How about you, tough guy?
He's just been absorbed.
I disagree with all of you. I don't think I'm a man yet, to be honest.
You don't think you're a man yet? That's what you just said?
I think the whole narrative is bullshit. And I think, like, you know, in life we meet many men in life, but you want to meet is like a gentleman and like actual gentlemen, people who like I say, yo, I want to be like that guy. Very few people. Yeah, so I don't think definitely not me. Hopefully one day. But like I definitely don't think I'm a man. And I think the stereotype or like the misconception is like, if you put up a shelf or like if you change a tire, do like stuff, you're a man. But like any idiot with a fucking hammer can put up a shelf.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Like being a man to me is like being a good father, being a good partner, you know, being a good person. That's like a man.
Sure. I like that. That's a good view.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true though, because a lot of it is just societal norms and shit. Like we were just talking about. It's like being more accomplished or, you know, doing stuff in your job is being more of a man, but like it's kind of silly if you think about it.
Yeah, accomplishing stuff is lame.
No.
That's not what I mean. Fuck it, just nah.
No,
Don't
but
enter the workforce. You don't need to.
Nah.
build off
but
that.
No, I'm agreeing with him
I know,
more
I
than
know,
what
I'm
you're
just-
saying. Like,
I
yeah.
think the reason we're such close as friends is the fact that we've never been like guys. Like we're not like like
that's for damn sure.
no, like you know what I'm saying is like we've never been the
More
type
like
of guys that
mature.
hang out and like we're the stupidest people I know.
We don't
get
just
me
sit
wrong.
around slamming beers and.
But we've never been focused on being like a tough guy or like a guy's guy. You know, we don't go
Yeah,
to clubs
yeah.
and like
Wow.
I don't know.
That's debatable.
But the thing is, we all have like a pretty,
I know what you mean.
like especially in high school. Like I remember guys were like getting into fights and like doing like really what people perceive as men, and like we never actually did that stuff.
Mhm.
But if you look at us now, it's like we're actually still friends, and they're not as
Yeah.
close.
But I mean, we're talking about like stuff like that, like men being violent, you know, like men fighting and shit like that in high school and all that, whatever.
Yeah, like
Testosterone.
all like wrestling. Like when did we wrestle in high school?
Yeah, like in the 1 week where they do it in PE class, but like.
But remember, guys used to wrestle all the time.
But I know what you mean. Like kids would be getting into like the grades, your grade. There would be fights going on outside of the school. Like at the end
I
of the
feel
day.
like
Yeah, a bunch of
less,
ruffians,
like,
man.
when
Bottom
once
line
you
is
get
we're
older, there's
pansies.
less and less fights.
No, yeah, and that's an interesting thing is that to me says that fighting has nothing to do with being a man, but at the same time, maybe there are parts of it that are where it's like, oh, like a warrior, you know what I mean? Like those.
That's
kind
what
of people,
society
like,
makes
that's a
you
man.
think.
That's what society makes you think.
which I think is bullshit.
But I don't think that those people were any more stereotypically men back in high school. Like you're saying, like the people that you saw doing that kind of shit, like the people who were ruffians.
Yeah, look at them now.
Those people you're saying that were more like men. Sounds like what you just said a minute ago. Because you were saying we weren't acting like men like that sense. But to me, that says your perception of a man is someone who does shit like that.
No, is they were acting like that, and that's what like society told us a man was
Sure.
or is.
Yeah.
I get you.
And we've never had those like alignments with like what we actually are. We're good guys.
We're decent.
We're decent.
We're
We're not
decent.
good. We're decent.
Yeah.
We're not good. We're decent.
But I think that's like we never cared about that bullshit. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But where would you place yourself then? If you say that right now you don't feel like you're a man, what
The
brings your
traditional
definition of a man? Is it because you're not a father? Is it because you're not a husband? You're not a partner right now?
Not necessarily. No. I think to be like a man, like an actual gentleman, it would be like having truly influence someone to be like, wow, I want to be like that guy.
Interesting.
To me, that would be like when I become a man.
To be someone's role model.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, I mean,
think
y'all
about-
don't know. We just filmed Role Models last week, and so it'll be out the week before this episode.
Who'd you film that with?
But with Brandon and Kabir. Yeah, we were talking about role models.
I thought you were talking about the movie.
Dude,
I was
great
like,
movie.
that's
Great movie.
You kind of tie that into like you kind of tying that into consciousness because if you're talking about being like a role model or somebody that somebody looks up to,
Not necessarily an accomplishment, but like you having an actual impact in someone's life because of the way you are as a man.
oh, I get it. Like being maybe a good enough person where someone
Yeah, you know?
like looks at you and like I want to be more like him, not necessarily in an accomplishment sense, but like a general personable sense,
Well, yeah,
like how you are as a person, right?
like there's very few people I've met who are like real men who I can say like I want to be like that guy.
Yeah.
Top
And
three
if I-
men, go.
My grandfather and my uncle
Hey,
Is
Said
it
No.
top
nice?
three.
Nice.
and Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, without a doubt.
No, yeah, it's literally that. And if like, yeah,
I feel like, and to me, it would almost be like if you get to a point where your brother, let's say, vocalized that he looks up to you,
yeah,
that might make you feel like more of a man.
no,
I'd be
No,
concerned. I'd be
eh? But
concerned
it's
if
funny
he's-
'cause
I'd
you're
be
talking about
concerned if he said
family.
that, first of all. Yeah.
it's different because like I get what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
but we influence our little brothers so much where it's like that's just expected almost. Like I'm sure at some point you looked up to your brothers too,
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's just I feel like it most of the time they take the good things and it's nice that they're looking up to them, but at the
Mhm.
same time it's like it's almost like bound to happen.
So you're kind of talking about the idea of like great men, you know, and that raises another question that I have for all of us, which is about equality in man and whether or not there is equality in man. Is one man better than another, right? It sounds like from what we're saying that some men are, at least to yourself,
Yeah,
some men are. I
absolutely.
might think that some men are greater than another as well, but I feel like there's more to it, right? So we'll get into that. But yeah, do you think there is equality in men? Think about, for example, look at an artist, look at Drake, look at a local artist. Is Drake that much better than the local artist because he's found success? If you look at a manager, a CEO versus a lower level employee, even me just saying lower level, using that kind of verbiage, that sort of insinuates that person is lesser, right? That man would be less than the other, right? So I'm wondering if, thinking about just life in general, you're looking around at us, looking at your friends, your family, people in your life, at work, whatever, what makes one man better than another?
At a very surface level, which I've seen somewhere before, which I kind of agree with, is I would look at how, I guess, a man or somebody treats somebody who is a complete stranger to them, as opposed to somebody who they're very close with. You know what I mean? In my opinion, because it's easy to be mean or a shitty person to somebody that you don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if they treat them with respect, then it shows a little bit more of how they are as a person. You know what I mean? Because obviously, you know, people that you're close with, you know, you're kind of expected to treat them a little bit better than strangers, right? So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. Is at a very surface level, look at how somebody treats strangers to kind of gauge how they are as a person. You know what I mean? Obviously, this is very surface level. It's not super deep, but
no, but I like that. I like that just sentiment, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Where if you are treating those you don't have a relationship with, someone who's random, with respect, that's a good thing. To just latch onto that for a second, I had seen something about therapy, where someone in therapy was starting to understand, as they were going through their own therapy, that when people around you are acting kind of shitty, it's just a response from their own trauma in their life and the own way that they've lived their life. So if you're able to look past that and see through that for somebody and just take it at surface level, I think that would be a good quality to have as a man, is to not pass judgment, I guess, in a way, right? You're not passing judgment onto the person around you.
I think that has much to do with being a man, like being a good artist and stuff like that. It's just your profession.
But the original question is
there equality in men? That's what I'm saying. Is that, I guess I'm thinking of equality, and my own perception of a man is someone who has found success, someone who has accomplishments. This question is maybe sort of loaded behind my own bias and the way that I think of it, right? So for me, I'm thinking of, okay, this artist is more accomplished than the next one, but the nuance that I think there is to that is that the person has just had more time.
Right, but
maybe they're more talented.
Like you're looking at just the music sector, essentially.
In this analogy, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
So are we just comparing them as artists then?
Sure.
In terms of like...
Well, no, we're comparing them as people.
But
you don't know either of them.
Then you need to know one of them, like Drake, or the local artist may be a better father than Drake.
Sure.
Yeah, that's why it might be. That's why that's why I don't think at least in these terms, I don't think the accomplishments has anything to do with how good of a man you are. You know what I mean? Because take Drake, huge artist, whatever. He could be a complete fucking asshole. He could be a bad father. He could be all these things. That doesn't make him any less of a good artist. You know what I mean? Because you don't need those qualities to be a good artist or to have accomplishments. You could be the best businessman in the world, which notoriously usually billionaires are kind of, you know, assholes or standoffish or whatever, right? Because you don't need those qualities in order to make it in whatever talent profession. For a lot of them, maybe there are some that you do, but yeah. So I really don't think that how you are as a man ties into your profession or your accomplishments in that sense.
I get what you're saying. Y'all have taken a better look at this question than I did.
Yeah. I get the angle that you're going at, but like if you break it down like that, it's just you don't need any of that you could be literally a serial killer and be a really
okay, well now this guy
a serial killer and a good man. I don't know.
No, not a good man. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying you could be a serial killer and a good businessman. Like that doesn't tie into how you are as a person. You know what I mean? It doesn't at all, right?
Sure.
That's very extreme, but I'm just making a joke.
I mean, the first half.
Yeah, I'm just making a joke about it, but you kind of get where I'm going.
Ted Bundy, man, that guy.
Ted.
Because the other thing that I had down there as an example for us was like an engineering student versus an arts student. Would you think of those two differently if they were both men? Would you look at them any differently?
You'd have to get to know them.
Yeah, you have to get to know them.
I think like at first like glance maybe, or like not first glance, but like if you're like, oh, you've got an engineering student here and an art student, I would like just like off the top of the head, I'd be like, oh, this engineering student's probably more of like a man. But that's just like, you know, very like instinctive response to say, or
Sure.
instinctive.
And I
thing
feel
to
like
say.
it also is coming from like our own point of reference.
Yeah.
Right, our own life tells us that person, like, because I looked at that's the same way.
Yeah.
I wanted to complete my degree in the sciences stream rather than the art stream because in my head somehow that is better. It's not, right?
I don't think it
because
is.
you don't.
I don't subscribe to that.
Mm.
Yeah, it might be like more useful or something.
I don't even know where it comes from.
In that sense, it's kind of shitty. And because like, what if you had been very good in the arts and that would have been better for you, but you now have chosen something else solely because that was being more of a man, you know what I mean?
In my own head, too.
Yeah, and that's probably happened with a lot of other people, and that's a shitty thing.
I agree with you that I think it would be really shitty, right? In that, like, you're right. Like, I don't even know where the bias comes from. I don't know where that feeling came from for me.
It's deeply rooted in society.
In what? That's the
your
thing, is like,
brain.
why
It's
is
what
that
you're
I think
taught.
spice this up.
Yeah.
Let's take a look right now at the room. 2 of us gentlemen here have sick things on our nails,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
the 2 of us don't. Would you say that makes us less of a man?
No, I wouldn't.
Like that's a real topic because
It's funny because I wouldn't entertain that idea of getting my nails painted because of how other people
Would see it.
view it. Yeah. Like, especially at work. I work
I feel
in
like that's
construction.
way more
That's
I work in
thing,
construction,
too.
and those people are considered manly men. My boss, if he saw my nails painted, would be like,
You'd
"What
be
the
ridiculed."
fuck?" He'd be
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
Throw you off the building.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know why this guy didn't have a harness today. But
Fuck you, your nails
you're right,
painted?
though, man. Like, your field would tell you that that's not okay. My field tells me that that is okay. I work in customer service, and when I got my nails done the first time, Seb was like, watch this, guarantee every day, guaranteed minimum 2 people are going to compliment your nails. Minimum 2 people every single day since I've had my nails done.
Yeah,
I've looked, I love your nails.
Yeah, that's...
And
yeah,
it's like,
funny.
that's because we work with people in a customer service field where you're not
Yeah.
tough. You don't have to be tough in customer service, right? So
gotta be
yeah,
friendly.
you're right.
I also live in a Spanish house, which is just that's rough
You get ridiculed at home.
for the nails. But
Yeah,
yeah, but
how
like
is
stuff like that, it's like my mom is really funny, and like she does make fun of me like all the time.
Does she shit on your nails?
Yeah, all the time. I don't even want to say it on camera because it's actually really mean.
It's super offensive, yeah.
I'll say it.
But it's actually it's really funny and it's hilarious, and like over in Mexico it's like all my family sees it too, and they're like, oh my god, like Seb's off the rocker, like he's
They literally think you're like...
but what I tell them is like, I don't actually like fucking love it. It's something that I have to do. My friend Kathy became a nail artist, and I've been doing it ever since, just to like support her because it's fucking okay. But what I find is that at least 80% of the time, women will see it, and they'll be like, if you're confident enough as a man to paint your nails, besides what everyone else says, and you're not actually, you know, gay, they see that as like confidence, and like that usually works in my favor. I'm not even joking.
Game and shit. Like, yeah, I got my nails painted.
But I think it has to do with the sign of the times too, man. Because I was gonna ask, would your opinion on nails being done be any different 10 years ago?
Yeah, times
Like,
are
big
changing
time.
for sure.
You know, like I feel like even as a young kid, if I saw a guy in our school walking around with painted nails, I would have said that guy's gay. And that comes from, and I'm outing myself as far as like my biases have changed. When you're a kid, you're stupid. You're ignorant in the sense of the way that you look at the world.
Yeah.
Right? Did the light just turn off? Am I tripping?
I think you are.
I think you are, bro.
You having a seizure?
I like these
Christ,
LED
man.
lights though. They're real nice.
They're cool. Thanks.
Yeah, put it on red.
When I could actually put on red. I could for this moment here. No, I'm not going to.
No, don't do it.
Yeah, when I was a kid, when you're young, you're kind of ignorant in the way that the world works because you're just fed so much garbage, and kids will come to school and the first kid learns to swear. The first kid uses a derogatory slur about being like gay or something like that at school. Now everybody starts using it, right? And because you think that that's just normal. My point of me saying all this is that my opinions back then were rooted in ignorance. Right? I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just looking at something and I'm making this flash judgment. And it's like people don't grow out of that sometimes, it seems. You know what I mean? Like people keep that. And maybe that's almost the thing that makes you more of a man, is when you start to shed yourself of these stupid, ignorant biases, you start to become more of a man. Think for yourself. What does a nail have to do with anything related to sexuality?
Exactly it.
Right?
Yeah, well, I feel like society's shifting a lot now too. You can just kind of do whatever the hell you want, gender norms aside, and people aren't being as judgmental as before.
Well, no, now that I started working at commercial, I get called out all the time.
Oh yeah, you probably.
Because there's a lot like older crowd, and like there'll be like guys who are like in their like 60s, 80s, and they'll go like, "Are your nails painted?" I'm like, "Yeah, you fucking bet." And they're like, why? I'm like, why not?
That's actually good to say. Why not?
The first time someone asked me, I was a little bit like, I was like, oh, like I'm just like,
just
blah, 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 yeah.
You
But after a while, I literally walked away from the table and I was like, why the fuck do I care what he thinks of me? Like,
why
who
do I
is
need
this
to
guy?
defend myself?
Yeah, like why do I need to explain myself to this guy? And like, I could definitely tell he was judging me and being like,
Well, I think that's a good question. Why not?
I don't blame him because like he's so deep rooted in his ways and stuff like that. He's probably not doing it to be a dick, but it's just for him it was really strange.
Yeah.
And ever since then, if everyone asks me, I'm just like, yeah, like they are.
Yeah.
And they're like, why? I'm like, why not?
I had a little kid ask me why.
Yeah.
And he was with his mom, and the kid was like looking at my nails, and I heard him like whispering to his mom. He's like, "Is his nails done?" And like I looked at the kid and I just smiled, right? Like I had my mask on too, so I can't like really see me, but like you see my eyes, right? So I do the smile shit. Yeah. And then the mom goes, "Yeah, he does, and it's okay for him to do that." And the kid goes, "Why would he do that?" And I was like, and I like the kid's young. The kid's like 8, 9, 10 years old, something like that.
And then you asked him to step outside.
No, but I looked at him and I said to him, I was like, well, you know, sometimes people just want to do something. Sometimes people just want to paint their nails. And he was like, okay. Right. And it's just like, even in today's generation, there, I guess, are some people who are still going to grow up with these biases. The mom clearly doesn't have them, but this kid learned that somewhere. Right. He picked that up somewhere. And I wonder if that would have been other people walking around with him, other kids at his class or whatever. But everybody has their own point of reference that brings them to think a certain way, right? But you're right. Maybe this makes you no different of a man. I don't think it does.
If you think about it, you know, just very basically, it's fucking silly. Painting your nails has nothing to do. Painting your nail has nothing to do with how much of a man you are. Literally nothing. It doesn't fucking matter. You know what I mean? Like it's so silly when you think about all this, like a lot of this shit. Like at a very surface level, it's like, why does it matter? You know, you're not less of a man because your nails are painted. Like, you know what I mean? It's so I don't agree.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is something about being more or less of a man, but it's going to lead into a last question, if you will. For now, though, I'll ask this part. Do you think that someone enlisted in the army, a man enlisted in the army, serving our country, is more of a man than we are?
That's a funny one, because...
God, no.
That's a funny one. Really?
Any idiot can sign up to join the army.
Interesting.
Any idiot.
Yeah.
Well, go sign up right now.
Anybody
go sign up right now. See how long you last.
You got to pass the
cannabis
the cannabis test, the alcohol test.
Yeah. Those are the tests you got to pass. Yeah.
I think that falls into exactly what we were talking about at the beginning. Like to me, that's bullshit. Like, why would you joining the army make you more of a man? Tell me that.
Well, I'm not about to disagree, but I agree. Anyone can
enlist.
Anybody can enlist. Yeah. But it would make a difference for me how long they're in the army for, what
capacity they've served.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then that's the same. That opens up another conversation.
That's bogus.
But then there's like all this that's discipline and like other stuff that is factored
like
into
anyone
it, which
can
will
enlist.
change my opinion on it.
Anyone can enlist, but not everybody will. Like it's not. You know what I mean? Like,
of
course you can go enlist, but very few people do because it takes a very special type of person, not necessarily man. So I would say it takes that's a good point. Like not necessarily man, but it takes a very special person. Like you have to be a very brave, courageous person, man or woman, right? But I get what you're saying because traditionally you would look at that soldier or that person.
This question
enlisted,
was about tradition,
as more of a man, which people will look at it that way. You're right, but as a whole, I think it's more of a better person, not better person, but a more brave person, a more, you know what I mean?
Someone who's willing to sacrifice, someone who's also looking for a sense of purpose.
Yeah,
I think sometimes might
a very
be one
strong quality of person, not necessarily man.
I think they're great people. Anybody who serves our country is a great person.
But people will look at it like that. Like, just take one man who's a soldier enlisted in the army and another person who's not or doing
a
something
farmer.
But what is it about service and serving your country that warrants such a level of respect? That's something I think is something that's kind of like universally looked at as a respectable thing to do, right? Nobody looks at a veteran and thinks on first glance, right? This comes back to your point too about you need to know somebody before you know anything really about them and make your judgment. Yeah. But nobody looks at a veteran or someone in uniform at first glance and thinks, you're a terrible person. No one would make that first assumption. At least I would never. I wouldn't assume.
That's true.
You would.
Well, I think that's because in order to enlist, you will have to have at least a base level of certain qualities like bravery.
To make it through.
Yeah, to make it through. The willingness to sacrifice, discipline, all this stuff he's talking about. You will have to have had at least those qualities. Therefore, you can make an educated guess that the person is probably like a good person, a decent person at the very least. Even though that could not be true. A lot of people probably enlist and aren't very, good people. But that's why people make that assumption, at least in my opinion.
I think that's a question for another day.
It absolutely is. This is very surface level, but I wanted to tie it into another.
I think it falls onto almost like the government wants people to think that if you enlist in the army, you're a good person, and it almost, for me at least, is very dependent on like. After you enlist, the government will do all it can to make you seem like you're a good person because you're helping them out.
And then how much do they end up helping out the person?
Yeah,
Members Day, all this stuff. It's governmental stuff.
Yeah, but regardless of what you're fighting for and what all of that shit, you know what I mean? Like, you could argue that when people are enlisting for the U.S. military, you could say, oh, they were just going to Afghanistan for whatever. Regardless of that point, to enlist, you still need those qualities that I was talking about. You know what I mean? So it's not like people enlisting agree with all of the time what they have to do in the army. You know what I mean? But in order to do that, you have to be a certain type of person, which is usually,
Yeah, you don't just get into the army.
Yeah, like it's.
Has anyone ever tried applying?
I get what you're trying to say, though. It's like, oh, the government just wants you to do this, but
yeah, I would be scared too. I would be scared to apply.
Like, okay, what if we?
I'm gonna do it.
What if we went to war tomorrow and there was
conscription style, man? Yeah,
and you had to join the army and you got fucking sent.
I'm going back to Mexico, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, okay, so. Interesting. I'm not even gonna touch that, man. I'm not gonna touch that. I want to save that kind of conversation for another time. Maybe we do some.
Does it make you more of a man putting your life on the line?
To me, it does, man.
It does.
To me, it does.
Really?
I don't know why. To me, it's it's a noble thing, man.
For
if
who
you can
though?
Do that because there's no shot in my life I could.
But
it
the
makes
for
like
who
if you put
the for who doesn't matter.
If you put your life on the line for like people you care for, people who actually like do something for you, yes. But like for your country, stuff like that, I don't.
You have a certain level of responsibility to your neighbor, man.
No, it's not even
that. That's
the
way that I look at it.
If anything, that's better. Putting your life on the line for people you don't even know.
That goes back to your point about what makes you a man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody would not everybody obviously, but majority of people would risk their life for their family. But how many people would risk their life for their neighbor? That makes you a special type of person for doing that.
I think it's a good thing, man.
I think war is bad though.
I'm not agreeing. I think war's bad too. I'm not agreeing. It doesn't matter the points of going to war and all that. We're talking about the people involved in this. You know what I mean? Like we're not talking about the reason for going to war or why they want to fight or anything like that.
But it comes down to that, no? If you're going to a war,
not as a base level soldier, you don't make those decisions though.
So what if
what
about the Vietnam War? I go over and I sacrifice my life and do that.
It's just
even though no one agrees in the Vietnam War. What about that, huh? Does that make me a man if I go over and kill a bunch of Vietnamese people? Does that make me a man?
I get what you're getting at too.
Like, you gotta think about things in like an actual perspective.
From this, because you're right. I think there are so many ways to look at it, and talking about something that I don't think we have enough understanding of to have like a good conversation without coming off as maybe perhaps ignorant ourselves. I don't want us to get to that.
All right.
So the question that I do think that we can, I guess, lend our thoughts to is, what responsibilities to society do you think we carry as men? We've talked about enlisting in the army, you know what I mean? People have like a duty to serve, and oftentimes I think men can be looked at as people who have a duty to serve. Do you have a duty to your partner? Do you have a duty to your friends, your neighbor? Do you have a duty to the economy? What kind of things do we think we need to be doing for society as men to be helping it, pushing it?
I think we need to teach.
Education is a big thing. I agree with that.
I think we need to teach our children, not only our children, more specifically our sons, on how to properly behave, because regardless of gender roles and all that stuff aside, most crimes are committed by men, specifically crimes against women. Specifically crimes against women. No, it's true. And I think we have a duty to teach our sons how to behave and how to properly treat women. I think that's an important part of being a father and a man.
There's a lot of shitty kids out there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of shitty. There's a lot of shitty kids. There's a lot of shitty parents.
Exactly,
out there.
that's where,
what I
where it
mean?
starts from for sure. It starts in the home.
Yeah.
And you look at fathers. We
need to teach to teach our sons to be there as fathers. You know what I mean? And to treat women with respect and everybody with respect, obviously. And to not not be a shitty person. Basically, that's my view on duty as a father,
that's a good
as a father and as a man.
Yeah, a good responsibility to society is
Something funny about that?
to do that. This guy just can't stop laughing.
It was him. Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
If for everybody listening and watching, if you look around the room at the moment, there is one man who at the start said, "I'm not a man," and clearly he's showing by laughing at duty like he's 12
I'm
years
not a
old.
fucking liar, man. I'm being honest.
It's kind of funny, bro.
Man,
Yeah, I bought my piece 50 cents.
Yeah,
I agree. Well, I like what you're saying, and this is not to disagree. This is to play a little bit of devil's advocate.
Yeah.
That your own perception of behavior, because you're using the word behave, right? Teaching our sons to behave. Our own perception of what good behavior is going to be different from each other, right?
True. Yeah.
And there are going to be values that we're going to want to teach to another person differently, right? Especially if we're talking about our future sons, if we end up having sons, right? All hypothetical and all that. But yeah, different point of reference will create a different behavior that you want to have a person adopt, right?
What was the question again?
Yeah, no, I don't.
The question was about the responsibilities to society that men have. What do you think there are?
I think that what Dev said might be maybe the most important, because you're just being the role model to your family. As long as everyone's a good role model to their own family,
Yeah.
ideally, and things would turn out perfectly in the world.
Sure. And it's like, I guess you're talking about the idea of generational development and growth and improvement,
Yeah.
right?
I think that's the best way to actually change society as a whole is through education.
It has to
I'm
be.
not talking like school and all that stuff. Like, yes, that plays a big part.
Mm-hmm.
But like education, like you said, like to your own kin and like to people around, not just to like your kids, stuff like that, but like people who you meet and everyone around you. If they can say, wow, Devon's a good fucking person. I want to be more like Devon because he does this and this and blah, blah, blah. Then you're not actually. I'm just kidding. But I feel like that's a certain duty we have to society if you consider yourself a man.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that I've learned over the last couple of years was the value in gaining more perspectives, gaining new perspectives, right? Because that is at the root of what you're talking about, right? When you meet somebody new, you're sharing your perspectives with one another, right? And if you're open to these other perspectives, that allows you to, I think in general, the more perspective you have, the better person you are. Right? The less damage you risk to society. If you walk through life with one perspective and you're never open to another, whatever that perspective is going to bear all of your weight with it, right? You're going to cause a problem if the perspective you had told you that killing people in Vietnam was the right thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you grew up a soldier and you never learned another perspective, that could be dangerous. Just as much as we're talking about the idea of enlisting in the Army is a great thing and it's an honorable thing. Using this as just an example, right? It could have some danger to it as well, I think.
Well, that's why I think like traveling is very important for people to do. Just being exposed to different
Other cultures.
other cultures, other places of the world. Because so
Definitely.
many people they're born, they grow up in their small town and they stay there and they die. You know what I mean? Like they've never been exposed and they have very, very small-minded, very narrow-minded views of the world because they've never experienced the world.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think traveling is very important and kind of priceless. You know what I mean? That's why
So when you have the opportunity to
when I
Very
have
nice,
the opportunity
Dev.
to travel. That's what I think.
That's
Everybody
actually
buy
very
a
true.
plane ticket. Maybe not right now.
You heard it here first.
Don't listen to me. Just travel.
Jet setter over here.
Yeah. No, but seriously.
Aloha.
Devin's taking us on the flight. Where are we going next?
Yeah, COVID tests are expensive, bro. You know?
It's crazy, man. That is actually crazy. COVID
Flint,
tests.
Michigan, our next trip.
Buddy, if you want to talk about education, right, and you want to talk about educating people to have more perspective so that we end up being better men and we end up working to help society and blah, blah, blah. You're like helping the next generation. I think there's so much of being a man where you need to support your neighbor. And it's tough when you hear about situations like Flint, Michigan, for example, where I don't think their water's still not good, isn't it?
I have no idea.
I think it's still not good. Yeah.
That's the last time I
can't
heard,
say.
like even all the way, we can't say.
It looks like dirt. I think.
I haven't heard any good news about
I haven't heard any good news about Flint, Michigan's water. But I mean, like a scenario like that, like to me, I don't understand why things like that don't get solved. You know, sometimes I wonder why don't things like that get addressed? If it's so clear to us that helping your neighbor is a good thing, why don't things like that get addressed? Because it's not as simple as just fixing the water. Why isn't it?
It usually has to do something with greed and or money. Usually.
Yes.
That's literally the root of all fucking evil.
I
and
suppose.
problems.
Yeah.
At a very basic level.
Yeah, I would
so.
say I would
think so,
agree.
man.
I think
Greed
this
is,
ties together because
greed
while there's a lot of
and
men
money.
out there, there's also a lot of evil men out there.
Yeah.
We've been talking about what makes a good man. We haven't talked
We've time talking about what makes a bad man.
That's why you need to educate.
And it's a lot easier to be a bad man than a good man.
Yeah, because you don't have to try. You don't have to be conscious of how you're received by everybody around you. You don't have to care about the person next to you to be a bad man, right? You can just be a dick.
It's a lot less effort, yeah.
But why is it less effort? Why
Why is being a good man hard?
Yes.
That's what you're saying?
Is it
Why is being a hard man good?
Why
is it society?
Why is it being hard?
Yeah, why do we have to try to be good men rather than try to be bad men, you know?
Because if you didn't, then it wouldn't make any sense.
Why?
Because nothing in life that isn't worth trying for can't be.
Is easy.
No.
Yeah, it's easy.
Is that no? That's not the right
No.
thing.
Is that the word?
It sounds
Well,
right,
it's more
but
like-
that's not,
That's not the
doesn't
saying.
relate, though.
But I get what we're trying to
You
say.
know what I'm going for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something worth It's not easy if it's worth doing or something like that. I don't know. You get what I'm saying. If it's worth doing, it's not always easy.
Well, it's like it's easy to take candy from a baby.
That's a mean thing to do, right? That's a bad man. It's a bad man right there. But I get what you're saying, though. Is like, why is it so difficult to be good? Why is that something that we're always talking about working towards?
Exactly.
Why is that not the starting point for everybody?
Yeah. Why
You're born in the world good.
Yes.
You learn bad.
So.
Well,
Why do you have to
is-
read?
No, that's
I-
nature versus nurture.
Is the nature of man evil? That's a question. That's
No,
a, that's a deep
no,
question.
It can't be.
It
Otherwise,
can't
we
be.
wouldn't be here.
But what about someone that's like
no-
nature versus nurture? We actually talk about this in school, like for criminology.
Mm-hmm.
What about someone who has like alcoholism running in their fucking family line? Like no matter what you nurture them, they could have a tendency to become alcoholic and
I get
stuff
what
like
you're
that.
saying.
Like I think it's both, to be
Sure,
honest.
but alcohol, if we're gonna take it down to the root, alcohol is a bad thing.
But what about like schizophrenia?
Oh.
What about like schizophrenia or like an
There isn't a
actual?
lot of good that comes out of alcohol.
Yeah,
I'm saying you can have like inherent traits that you
sure.
are gonna be born with,
Schizophrenia doesn't make you a bad person though.
but it tends to make you.
It could make you like, yeah, it makes you like you have schizophrenia, but like your intentions aren't bad. I wouldn't think. I don't know enough about schizophrenia.
mean-
Neither do I. But
What'd you say?
It depends. I mean, it depends if you've actually committed a crime or not.
Well, there's many times people commit crimes like that, and then it's like.
and they say
it's
not-
because
he's
it
not
was-
at fault because he's
No, but like they do hear like there's many cases where like someone's been stabbed outside of a supermarket or something like that, and it's because someone actually had voice in his head, and he was
Telling him to
putting
do
into
it.
like a mental institution saying that he had to stab someone.
But I'm gonna bring this back to the original thing that I was saying, which is that I feel like you are born good and that you learn negative things. I get what you're getting at, which is that sometimes there are things out of your control that might put you in a position where you're doing things that are dangerous to society. A mental illness is oftentimes out of your control.
Yes.
Right? If your parents were drinkers and now you have fetal alcohol syndrome, that's something that's out of your control.
I think that's
And
the
so I
exception.
think these are extremes. These are exceptions to the
Yeah.
rule. In most cases, I think that people are born. You're not evil when you're born, right? You're just a baby. You don't know anything yet.
Yeah.
You have
You're
to
a clean
learn and
slate.
observe negative behaviors, which I think comes to your point about how important it is to educate the next generation and to raise good people, right? Because that's a responsibility of everybody who's alive today. When you have a child, you need to make sure that that child is going to bring good into the world
Yeah.
as much as you can.
I think you learn like literally almost all 90% of your behavioral attributes and whatnot from your parents.
Yeah.
Obviously you have external sources like your friends and whatnot, but as you're growing up, it's mostly from your parents. And that's why whenever I see like just like these like shitty couples or like these people who shouldn't be having children, you see that and you go, wow, those kids aren't going to be very well off. Or like not well off in terms of money, but like they're not going to grow up to be very good people because of the situations that they're exposed to. You know what I mean? You learn so much from your
And
parents.
that's the thing is it's not their fault.
It's not their fault. It isn't. It isn't.
No.
But
It's nobody's fault if
it's
you're a bad
unfortunate,
person.
but it's
I don't think it's anybody's fault if they're a bad person.
Parents?
No,
If-
for
if
sure.
they're themselves.
Oh,
Sorry,
sorry,
that's what I
of
mean.
course.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
someone else's things or actions that led you to being that way.
I think we're also very fortunate though, like being born. We were all born in like nice families and very good people. But like, imagine if we were born in like somewhere less fortunate, like East Hastings, Compton, fucking, like Juarez, like
Yeah.
like just the fact that we were born or you guys were born here, automatically.
It's
makes
crazy
you,
to think, man. The environment you're born into.
people
it
are
roots you,
a
man.
product of their environment.
Yeah.
But yeah, that question runs a little deeper than.
Oh yeah,
than
yeah,
fun.
and
We could-
I don't
yeah.
think that we're gonna have time to
rabbit hole.
to really get into this one.
Took the wrong turn at Albuquerque.
Nice watch.
We're burning moonlight.
I think that to kind of just bring things back home here, first of all, I wanted to quickly say I really enjoyed doing this with 4 people. I really like the vibe that we get here. What I wanted to do to kind of bring things back together here is kind of just rehash everything that we talked about. So thinking about what makes a man, I don't think that there is one single point for anybody. There's no same consistency, right? If you listen to the 4 of us talk, and if you're listening or watching this, you're going to think, nah, my time where I thought I was a man is different, right? Your time when you go from a girl to a woman is going to be different too, right? There are changes, right? And everybody sorry, what? Quinceañera. Yeah, that's the thing too, is though culturally there are things sometimes that say you become a man, right? I mean, look at
even like
culture,
drinking age.
right?
Drinking like at 19,
age, absolutely.
we become able to drink.
That's
When
the thing.
can you
Yeah,
vote?
that's
At
the thing.
18? At 18, you're 19? No, to vote.
To vote 18. 18,
Yeah, 18. At 18,
so there
you
are
can vote.
things that sort of elevate your status based on the society that you live in, right? Because those ages are different in different places. The other things that we talked about was equality in men, right? I think that we started to look at professions, and y'all called me out rightfully, which is a good thing, which is that I was thinking of men based on their profession. That has nothing to do with how good they are of men.
Yeah, I feel
right?
like you're very
Absolutely
deep
not.
in on that point. Yeah. I
Yeah,
feel like,
and so that I appreciate you kind of calling me on my shit there, because someone doesn't get to necessarily choose the opportunities they get for their profession, and so that doesn't mean that they're any less of a man because they didn't have the same opportunities that someone else did, right? The other thing that we talked about was the responsibilities that we have to society, and so we talked about the different ways in which men owe something to society, and you're paying your debt back to society. And I think the thing that we've landed on is supporting the next generation. In a way, that's also what we try to do on this podcast, is we try to share our views with other people, encourage those to be more open with one another. And that, I think, is something that's valuable to society. I think that there is benefit when people do get to listen and they get to then practice, take that into their own lives and share more. So thank you all for coming in today. I think this was a great conversation, and I hope that we could do this again sometime with another topic. But for now, I will say goodbye, everybody. Peace, and we'll see y'all next week.
Good night, San Diego.